In today's episode, I head to the all but abandoned ghost rail town of Thurmond, West Virginia. To get there, I have to pass through the small town of Gorge, West Virginia, which is where you'll find the headquarters of the New River Gorge National Park and Preserve. Thurman was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1984, and around the mid-90s, the National Park Service began renovations to the historic district. And on my way there, I see water everywhere. All this water of the Dunlop Creek that follows Thurman Road empties into the New River. And I mean lots of water. It's a common theme lately in this part of Appalachia. And after I wind down a few miles of wet, curvy roads enveloped by lush greenery, I reach my destination at the heart of the New River Gorge. When you make it to this point, you can either cross the New River by bridge to view the historic district of Thurman, or remain on this side of the river to see the site of the once Dunglen Hotel, which eventually burnt down and is now merely the site of some buildings owned by the National Park Service. Thurman is a somewhat unique rail town in Appalachia. It was significant for its connections with the C&O Railroad and coal industry during the 1800s and early 1900s, and at one time was only accessible by train. Thurman was founded by a Confederate captain by the name of William Thurman. After the war between the states, he became a surveyor and was given the land as payment that would later become the town of Thurman. He fiercely opposed alcohol, gambling, and prostitution in the town limits of Thurman and at Hotel Thurman. But competing proprietor Thomas McKell opened the Dunglen Hotel across the river, where folks could enjoy all the jazz, swing bands, alcohol, gambling, and yes, prostitution that they wanted. Kind of like a modern-day Vegas, but tucked away in the mountain hollers of West Virginia. At its height, nearly 15 passenger trains pass through here a day. At one point, over 75,000 people pass through Thurman in a year by rail. And today, several trains pass through here every day, including Amtrak, which makes a stop at the Thurman Depot. And no, this isn't the original depot. It burnt down with several other structures in the Great Fire of the late 1890s. A freight station was built here in the early 1880s, making Thurman a stop on the C&O Railroad. That was followed by Hotel Thurman and a passenger and freight depot shortly after. Within a couple years, a bridge was built across the New River, turning the town into a junction, which only fueled daily train and passenger traffic. But that bridge was destroyed by a major flood nearly 20 years later. The bridge reaching into Thurman today was built around 1915. If you head inside the Thurman Depot, you'll likely be met by a National Park Ranger and replica displays of what this place would have looked like in its heyday. I found out you can't get an Amtrak ticket here, but it does stop at the depot multiple times a week. Just across the tracks from the depot is the site of the old steam engine repair shop and rail yard, now just a gravel lot. Thurman was once a booming steam town. It revolved around the steam engine locomotive. That's what it was tooled for in the middle of nearly 24 area coal mines, serving 15 passenger trains a day. At one point, it had the largest revenue on the C&O Railroad from Ohio to Richmond, Virginia, and its banks were the richest in the state of West Virginia. But all good things must come to an end, and change here in Appalachia is inevitable. With the advent of automobiles and travel via roads, as well as the introduction of diesel trains, Thurman's decline was on the horizon. I spent some time looking around and exploring this old C&O coal tower built by Fairbanks and Morse out of Chicago in 1922. It looks like time and a little vandalism have taken their toll. Just across the tracks from the coal tower is Thurman's downtown area called Commercial Row. Ironically, this part of town experienced its biggest boom after the Great Fire of the late 1890s. But tragically, this is all that's left. Starting in the early 2000s, the National Park Service began repairs to help preserve buildings until they could be fully rehabilitated or restored. I think this makes Thurman unique among many of the abandoned ghost towns in Appalachia because it has the underlying revitalization, preserving it from total ruin. And honestly, it's quite a nice place to visit, even on rainy days like this. From what I could find, the Goodman Kincaid building was a dry goods building and it had offices on the upper floors. It had several businesses in it over the years, including the popular hangout of Mrs. McClure's restaurant, which closed sometime in the 1940s. At the peak of its heyday, Thurman had two banks, and this is one of them. Would you look at those interest rates? You can't get returns like that on accounts today. Too bad they aren't still taking deposits. Just beyond the bank, you'll come to the final structures that remain standing in Thurman, many with signs warning to keep out, under repair, no trespassing, and even graffiti. Now, I don't want to give the wrong impression, but Thurman actually has a few remaining residents, 5 to be exact. And instead of trying to drive around and find them, I'll respect their privacy and simply explore what's easily accessible here near the tracks. Time passes on and change cannot be stopped. Whether the change is progress or not is an entirely different question. Places like Thurman are pleasant to visit, but also haunting. They give me pause thinking about what the future holds in so many towns and cities that by today's standards would be considered booming. So whether it's the introspection or filming in the rain all day, I've worked up an appetite. And wouldn't you know it, I saw a wing joint just outside of Thurman on my way in today. I think I'll get out of the rain and check it out. Plus, hey, it's bone-in wing special tonight, just 75 cents each. You can't beat that. The food and drink warm me up. I even get a clean plate award. Maybe I'll order another basket or two of wings and sit here not thinking about Thurman. not thinking about the lessons it teaches or holds, just sitting here thinking instead about our blip in time and did I order the right hot sauce?